The burden is heavy. Thankfully, the company has done this.
It's all yours.
Yeah. From my perspective, the company has done this in the right way. It is something that we could have come out with, 8 or 9 months ago. But with any new technology, especially something like this, I think there's kind of three different buckets of the way we have to think about it. I think the biggest is this whole thought of ethical, right? Being ethical and being responsible about, with great responsibility or with great power comes great responsibility kind of concept. This concept of being ethical is how do we want to think about this so that it can be used in the way that we hope it is, to start being able to think about the ways that it might be misused and try to prevent or at least kind of guardrail some of that, but also make sure that it doesn't harm anyone in the sense that in this case you have lots of copyright and IP from the contributors originally, where their data was used to actually to go in. Then secondly, the customers who may have brands and other things like that they don't want to have sullied or in other ways. And then I think the third is from our standpoint is then the business, which is okay, you could open yourself to a lot of pieces. So if you do this and approach it in the right way, trying to take into consideration, you may not think of everything, but the point is you're trying to do it right. And our biggest concern all the way along goes to the next piece, which is this kind of legal responsibility. We wanted to make sure that contributors' rights were protected. And so from that, we actually have this kind of set up this two-pronged contributor fund. When we started working with OpenAI and LG, the reason that we partnered with both of them is that they approached it in exactly the same way. They're like, we want to do this right. We want to make sure that everyone is paid for the use of their work. We're going to put these governors in place to make sure that it can't be used in this way. And so from an ethical standpoint, they had the right thinking, but then it came down to, okay, here are the assets. These are the people that have to get paid. This is their IP, right? And then we put something on top of that, which is then this concept of, well, we have this contributor fund and they're paid for their input, but shouldn't they also be paid for the output, right? And that goes to the financial, which is, this is something that no one really knows what the long-term impact is going to be. We can postulate and we can try to direct the direction that we think it should go to protect and to kind of enable all sorts of contributors to be a new type of creator again. And so therefore you want to make sure that people have financial opportunity from this as well. So those three buckets, right? Ethical, legal, financial.
Absolutely. And where do you see AI taking us in the future? This is his favorite one.
Yeah, I'm not a Terminator guy. I mean, we are in the first, the first inning, but I think there's a lot of different, there's just a lot of different possibility around thinking about, right now it's being used for inspiration, for storyboarding, for things like that. But if you think about now starting to be able to kind of connect, sound and visual and text, and people talk a lot about ChatGPT, it unlocks human creativity. All of these unlock human creativity, and I think there's always that fear factor in the beginning of sea change, which is, oh my God, my job's at risk. Am I ever going to earn money? Am I going to, is all my stuff going to be stolen? But we have to be cognizant of the fact that our society, we observe and look at everything, every single thing, every single second. When the car came out, right, and it was happening over a period of time. When the camera came out, right, I think artists were like, oh my God, we're doomed, right? And now you have, a burgeoning art community and a burgeoning photographic community, right? It just takes time. So I think it's going to unlock a lot of capabilities, but the original purpose of AI, in all cases, not just creative AI, was to, how do you take mundane or let's say repetitive or let's say non-scalable human tasks and automate them so you can unlock what the human brain can really do, right? Which is to compute and to create. Compute, create, right? We're the only machine in the world that can do both at the same time with the same vehicle. And if we're stuck doing kind of repetitive and menial things, and I say menial not in a creative standpoint, but if I talk about the repetitive of having to create 72 variations, right? Boy, wouldn't it be great to kind of crank that out in the flick of a hat? So I think we're in the first inning, but this takes us to some place where it allows us to use more of what we have that's so unique, which is that creativity that computation. And you'll see it from the prompts, whatever you give us. Like a machine cannot give you a non sequitur, right? But the great thing about the human brain is you can actually put 4 concepts together. What did you say? A cat on Mars, having dinner,
wearing gold chains.
Give me a machine that's going to tell you that.
I don't even like cats.
Yeah. Well, we can make it not.
Dogs.
We can make the cats look evil if you want. But that's the thing, is that's the kind of the human component that we can't forget.